Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for one more thing, Jackie, of 2024. And ironically, one more thing is the latest piece of One Piece, chapter 1135, not of 2025, of 2024. A lot of people said we weren't going to get this chapter this week. It was going to be pushed till January. But nope, we get one more chapter to close out 2024. Before we even get underway with the chapter, it's SCOPPER, okay? It's 100, okay, it's 99.9% SCOPPER, but I am convinced it is SCOPPER Gabon. Now, we'll get to that part in the chapter, but just that's right out of the gate. That is what I am saying immediately. So, the rest of the chapter, however, there is one thing that I am excited for this whole God's Nights thing, and I am excited that, the plot is moving at a brisk pace, and this was a good chapter, but I did sort of wish where they literally have started the feast and everything, I wanted them to have more than 5 minutes, give them a whole night uninterrupted, you know what I mean? Like the God's Nights, them coming in here, that's cool. Is that Shanks' twin? More than likely. Or is it Garling, who's been granted, some youth shit instead of a devil fruit, kamikaze power by Eam? Who knows? Suffice it to say that is cool, and I am looking forward to that. I just wanted the poor Straw Hats to have one island that they go to where everything isn't a calamity. I know that's sometimes boring for the plot, but a little bit of slice of life with our Straw Hats for more than 2 chapters is alright. You know what I'm saying? Like, let them have a feast with Dory and Broggy. They got to an island. Elbaf is cool. Loki's chained to a tree. They're reigned as heroes. He's an emperor. Let's just chillax and have a banquet for just one night. 12 hours. That's all I'm asking for the poor Straw Hats. Can we just have 12 hours of the Straw Hats just chilling? That's all I'm asking for. A little bit of slice of life in One Piece. It doesn't bother me. But anyways, that being said, we move on, to chapter 1135. And apparently, as we found out before, it was Hold'em. Hold'em was the one going around and stuff. And little Otama is doing her thing. She's kicking Hold'em's ass. It's like, okay, she's got them shinobi skills now all of a sudden. She's kicking ass. I'm like, okay, I'm sure there's a little bit of help somewhere off screen and stuff like that, but it is what it is, right? The chapter is entitled the Camaraderie Cups. That's camaraderie. It's such a fun word, and I might have screwed up the spelling of that more than once in my day. Camaraderie is a hard word. I believe that's what that word is. I might even be misreading that. Camaraderie, right? But anyways, camaraderie cups, right? Like, share your cup, share a drink sort of idea. It's like companions, comrades, camaraderie. Anyways, so we move on to the rest of the chapter. We're in the library. We get explained that there is an owl here. The head librarian is actually an owl, an old wizened owl, from like a Disney film sort of idea, right? Got the glasses on and everything. And everything, so he's obviously eaten what Lilith refers to as the rear fruit and became a nurturing owl. The rear fruit, I don't know how that has to do with gigantification, the rear fruit, and apparently it's the rear fruit allowed him to become a nurturing owl. And inorganic things will grow with his power. So, what I'm not understanding in that regard is that the rear fruit, as in to rear a child, to rear the cubs sort of idea, right? Using animal kingdom terms. You rear your children. It's an old-fashioned term, but that checks out. The rear fruit. Okay, it's nurturing. You're rearing your children. Fine dandy. So he nurtures the area around him. He nurtures the library. Things grow. Inorganic matter, blah, blah, blah. The idea that that's very convenient, that it's not just rearing the children, things grow, but taken quite literally as in to grow. So I think it's just meant to be a kind of convenient pun on Oda's part, because I'm like, okay, the rear fruit, we're a nurturing owl, And then it's like, no, it's actually taken quite literally. He just gigantifies things. And you know what? Caesar Clown is kicking himself, and Big Mom's going, really? Really? Everywhere I looked, and the one place I wasn't allowed to go, Elbath, to get one of the 3 that I didn't have, boom, bada, boom, boom, boom. The one devil fruit that might have been the key to solving gigantification, so she didn't need to make up with the giants, is literally on Elbath in the homeland of the giants. You know, there's a lot there. There's a lot there to unpack, and I do appreciate that. I like that. I don't know if Oda intended that on purpose in that regard, but I think it is meant to be taken literally. You know, you rear a child as they grow up. You know, being nurturing as, you know, the cubs growing, and the, you know, boys become men, girls become women, etc., right? So they took this concept, the nurturing idea, quite literally, and it allows things to grow. Just so happens to be the fact that this owl is on Elbath and can turn normal-sized books that the giants cannot read, as Dorian Broggy pointed out about the newspaper, and can gigantify them to the point that now the giants can study and read. So very, very convenient. I like Lilith, though, just coming up, giving us the whole explanation, so now it all sort of making sense. This is just a convenient devil fruit that just happens to be on Elbath. But once again, conveniency, it is what it is, right? It's still very cool. I like the pun of the rear fruit being taken literally. It's kind of fun, right? Now, Saul is just chilling with Robin, and Robin's just having a grand old time with this and stuff like that. Chopper wants to read medical books, and Robin's like, oh, we had a few, like, it's mostly history books and stuff, but, yeah, you know, and paleontology and, you know, architecture and all that stuff, and obviously, you know, just archaeological books, but there was some medical text, I'm sure, so there are plenty here and stuff like that, right? So, anyways, we jump over to Luffy and Usopp stuff and having a great time, but they're scaring the giant kids somehow. As tiny as Luffy, of course, he's still crazy, and Nami is beating the ever-loving shit out of them once again. Where's Jinbei to say, conquers Haki? And I'm amazed that, like, no one's remarking once again. I know it's for comedic effect, but isn't it just hilarious that Nami is beating the literal shit out of one of the 4 emperors without question? I know it's for comedy, but it still hits. It's still funny. And the fact that Oda brought that up when Jinbei joined the crew and just went, Luffy's like stuck in a cage, like, this is my captain, one of the 4 emperors of the sea. Does Nami have Conqueror's Haki? Like, what the hell? How did she kick the shit out of it? You know, Jinbei's just there, 4th wall breaking, going, Aura? Conqueror's Haki? Maybe as strong as an emperor over here when she's pissed? You know, so once again, we get that again and stuff like that. We get Gerd, and we get, and of course, one of the kids is already, we get another Momonosuke moment, you know, and Sanji, of course, recognizes this, and it's just like, oh, for the love of God. And Luffy is just sort of like, come on, you're an Elbaf warrior kid. What the hell? You can't just run and cry. Like, what the hell is going on here, right? So, I mean, Usopp and Luffy sort of talk about this, sort of saying this is actually kind of disappointing. We were hoping for the blood and the mayhem sort of idea, the strongest live, you know, sort of the Makoto Shishio rule of the law, you know, the strong live and the weak perish, sort of, you know, kind of going evil villain with that. But once again, it is the Warland. It is Elbaf. Like, this is what they expected. And, of course, the generations have now changed, as Ripley has pointed out. Though Usopp also remarks that it's like, yes, but a peaceful land of the giants isn't a bad thing either, because they still obviously have their warriors. Their warriors live for, you know, centuries. Dory and Broggy are now back. The Hiruden has the new giant warrior pirates. Ripley's there. Gerd is there. We still have warriors here. It's just that the new generation is not really being raised up to be warriors. Most of them do not want to follow on the, you know, the bloodstained path sort of concept, right? Now, of course, Colin here, I believe that's his name, Connor or Colin? I think it's Colin. Colin shows up here to attack immediately. Straw Hat, hooah! And I can't tell if this is actually supposed to be a wooden sword, like a toy sword. I think it is, because it seems to, like, break apart and, like, splinter. So I'm sure it's not meant to be a metal sword of any description. And once again, he is just a kid. Slam. Tries to cut him down, and immediately there's nothing. He doesn't even, by the looks of it, he doesn't even put up Haki. Luffy just stands there, and bam! does not move. And once again, this might be just a kid. Once again, Scopper Gamon's kid, so there is precedent. And also a giant kid. So this is still going to knock some shit out. And Luffy just stands there. Huh? Slam. Sword breaks on him. I'm picturing the Luke Skywalker moment. The only good moment in the entirety of The Last Jedi. Just, you know, like, that's what I'm picturing right now, right? So, then immediately, Luffy decides, gear third, elephant gun, slams down into the ground, jumps up, and he doesn't actually hit the kid, because I'm like, Luffy, whoa. Like, you are kind of powerful. That's gonna hurt somebody. You know, that would probably, a gear third elephant gun from Luffy's power at this point, hockeyed up as we see, would probably give a full-grown giant problems, as we've seen and stuff like that. So this is just a poor kid. Scopper Gamon's kid or not, still an issue, right? So Usopp's like, whoa, Luffy, that's just a kid. Don't overdo this shit. He's like, what? I didn't hit him. That's not the point. You could have. You know, and stuff like that. So this is where Luffy's all excited, like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the kid. That's what I expected here. A kid ready to go to town. He's all smiles and happy and stuff. And meanwhile, the other kids are, no, you know, this is awful. Like, why, you know, Colin, you're such a, you know, and now it's spelled colon, but I don't think his name's supposed to be colon, like the organ. I don't know, but I'm going to call him Colin unless that is, I don't know. Colin is an actual name. Colon is an organ. So, and once again, I don't think colon, the organ, is a very Viking-esque name. Norse name. So I doubt that's, maybe it's just a translation thing. Anyways, so Colin here is just amazed by himself. All the kids are like, you delinquent, like, you're like the bad seed. Meanwhile, like, he's the only one carrying on from their generation, from this little kid's generation. He's the only one carrying on the tradition, you know, of being a brave warrior like Usopp was excited to be. He's following in his mother's footsteps because he is Ripley's kid. And we find that out this chapter, confirmed. And also, of course, his dad is apparently on the island, from what we can gather from, I think, chapter 1132 or 131. One of them, I think it was 132, where he's given the package, like, hey, here's all Ripley's favorites, go, you know, bring them, and doesn't say your mother. And then it said, and daddies are in there too. Meaning, like, maybe he shares his dad's fondness for snacks or something like that, or whatever was packaged up. But I like to think that, no, bring this to your parents. Bring this to Ripley and, you know, and your dad and stuff. I packed away both of their favorites. Now that we know that Ripley is his mother, that makes sense. Go bring these to your parents. And the way Ripley talks is like, you know, dad's around somewhere. So there's no indication that dad's out on an adventure or not on the island or dead or anything like that. So we can infer quite a bit from this. And it would make sense that this is a place where the third strongest member of basically the Sanji, or the, in my opinion, the Jinbei of the group, would be able to chill and hang out, and the world government would be able to do absolute fuck all about it. Right? I mean, we know where Rayleigh was, but as Gar pointed out, he hasn't actually done anything. He's been inactive for decades. We would have to muster so much strength to actually take him in, and the amount of casualties, we would have to pour all our resources into capturing him, and he hasn't actually actively been doing anything for years. It's sort of a waste of resources at this point. It's the cost is not worth the gain from the world government's perspective, so they left Rayleigh well enough alone. In this case, Scopper went to, I mean, he could have gone to Wano or somewhere like that, but I think Scopper, third strongest, went to Elbaf, obviously has a wife and now a kid and stuff like that, and even if the world government is aware that this is where Scopper Gamon ended up, just like with Rayleigh, he's not doing anything, and if Big Mom herself, if an Emperor of the Sea can't go up and take out Elbaf, the world government can't either. So nobody's fucking with Elbaf. Right? So, I mean, even if they know or don't know, And even with this little portal thing that apparently they can do Full Metal Alchemist, summoning circle, boom, alchemy, and we bring the truth. No, we're bringing the Gods Knights. I doubt they can transport a whole army in. I think that's probably exclusive to only the Gods Knights, obviously, and the Gorosei. And there's just not enough, once again, cost versus gain, right? Or gain versus losses in this point. So yeah, moving on from that though, this all adds up to me perfectly. Once again, it could be somebody else. It could be Shiki. I kind of doubt it. It could be Silver Axe. It could be, somebody like that. It could be one of the, famous member of Rock's crew. It could be. But for some reason, I just feel like it's more likely to be a member that we know, we have no indication is dead. I don't see Shiki being the one to settle down. And, the age makes sense. A pirate that wasn't afraid. It's obviously a very powerful pirate. Once again, we'll get to it. It just all adds up to Scopper Gabon as far as I'm concerned. All the dots are connected in that regard. Now, this is where, once again, apparently, he's the only one carrying on the tradition, and all the kids are like, he's such a brute and stuff. Now, Ripley shows up immediately and says, hey, behave yourself, don't cause a scene. That being said, very solid opening strike. You did a good job. So she's being, I gotta discipline you, but at the same time, hey, that was a good hit. I'm still a warrior of Elbath. I'm from the last generation, and my kid is not going to be any slouch. So she has to be sort of okay, don't scare the other kids, but at the same time, damn, you're doing good, son. So that's a bit of a thing, right? So, Colin immediately says, Meito-san made all your favorites and stuff like that. And it's like, wait, you're a mom, Ripley? What the hell? And you're teaching your son the old ways and stuff like that? And it's just like, wait, what's going on here? So once again, we get all the explanation. Colin just immediately opens up, so obviously not ashamed. My father's a human, eh? And everyone's like, wait, what? And even Sanju's like, your dad's a human? What the? And we're going to get into this, but to finish the scene, he said he used to be a pirate. He used to be a pirate, didn't fear anyone, not even the warriors of Elbath. A retired pirate who wasn't afraid of anyone, not even the warriors of Elbath. You got very limited choices there. Rox's crew member or Roger's crew member. That's basically what you got. Because those are the only ones who I could see that were not afraid of anyone. A top officer of Roger or a top officer of Rox. Scopper just works so well in this regard because, of course, Roger wouldn't have some bloodthirsty, a Shiki type of character, a Kaido, a power-hungry, crazy guy on his crew. We can basically summarize that almost all of the Roger crew members, Buggy, you can sort of argue this point a little bit, but for the most part, Roger, I believe, wouldn't have... His top officer, one of his right-hand men, would not have been a Kaido. You know what I mean? Would not have been a Shiki. So, in that regard, a Blackbeard, you know what I mean? So, in that regard, I do sort of feel like it makes more sense that that's the type of member that would settle down rather than a former member of the Rox crew. It's definitely got to be a very powerful original pirate from, the age before this golden age. This is where Ripley just says, yeah, my husband is much younger than me, refers to him as his husband. It's like, yeah, he's a lot younger than me, but then again, Ripley is, well over 100 years old, and says, our marriage is a little informal because of that age gap, and he's always said it'd be kind of weird to make it official, and he's the only one to ever that is going to grow old. Once again, this implies that he's probably going to die long before she does, because once again, giants, right? And everyone's like, whoa, what the hell? And the giants of Elbath, more specifically, the warriors of Elbath, recognize strength. It's why, at this point, the Straw Hats are welcomed with open arms by the most powerful warriors of Elbath, because Hyrudin has recognized his strength, Thorian Baragi have recognized his strength and stuff like that, so all the other giants have basically taken their word. hey, if our top giants, if our honor-bound warriors are saying these guys are honorable warriors, we ain't gonna say shit, right? So, in the same regard, Ripley being a member of, of the last generation of warriors, it makes sense that she would not exactly, not just to bed a human man, but also to, marry one. He would have to be an exceptionally powerful warrior worthy of her respect, right? So this also, I mean, just based on, her personality and character alone, she's not Big Mom. She's not going to get with weak guys like Pound and stuff like that and have 66 kids. She would likely only marry and someone that she could respect as mighty, honorable, warrior, powerful, right? Scopper Gamon is just making all the check marks are just going down the list. And I'd love to see him, Luffy and him interacting. Oh, old man Ray was teaching you, huh? That kind of stuff, right? And once again, axes, warriors, Elbath, everyone's using an axe. It just everything just seems to boom, 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 boom. It's like Connect 4, except we got multiple lines. It's just working out, right? Now, this also implies stuff, because once again, we have people like Big Mom and Kuma and Whitebeard, who seemingly seem to be like a half giant or just so large. And we know that Big Mom's parents were normal sized. However, here, and once again, we have Kuma being a buccaneer and stuff like that. Maybe there's Whitebeard and Big Mom had some buccaneer blood somewhere. By this logic, however, by the looks of this, even the half giant thing could be the case. Colin seems no smaller or less or weaker than being a half-breed, only a half-giant, than any of his peers right now. Seems to be a full-grown giant. This, to me, implies, alongside of potentially Whitebeard and Big Mom, that not only can giant blood potentially skip a generation, right, that it doesn't necessarily mean that each one is going to have characteristics. Most levels of fiction do that thing, right? Like, when they have, like, okay, you're half elf or you're half dwarf or you're this, that, the other thing, that's always a merge. It's never, okay, you're 100, your dad might be human, but you're still 100%, your kid is still 100% dwarf. The dwarf blood took over and 100% dwarf, right? Like, the beard, the short stature, yada, 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 all the love of gold, all that stuff. In this regard, and that's more realistic. Right? Just because you merge, races doesn't mean that every single time that one set of genes won't dominate, and stuff like that. That's just actual genetics and reality. So I do like this because it also explains how Big Mom potentially, a couple generations ago, could have had giant blood, and it passed down a couple of generations until it reached Big Mom. The blood was diluted until the genes just happened to split up from her mother or her father, grandparents, whatever. And in this regard, in the same, we're getting this here with Ripley having, what I'm saying is Scopper, and obviously the giant blood, even as powerful and as great and cool as Scopper's is, the giant blood took over and she gave birth to a full-fledged giant child. So that actually works out for me a lot because it's going to lend a lot of evidence to the theory, whether Big Mom, Buccaneer, or anybody, or Buccaneer blood in Whitebeard or Big Mom, or potential giant blood in either one of them. It could have been diluted from generations before them, in their family tree, and it explains their larger size, but where it's been passed down for a couple of generations, it's not fully, it's been a little bit diluted throughout the generations, and boom, popped up, right? It happens in real life and stuff, and I really just like this. I like all the stuff that we're learning from this one section of scene or one section of panels about not only how, the relations between giants and humans can go, the obvious evidence that it's a very powerful retired pirate, probably one we know very well, and I'm saying Scopper, but also just the way that, that interaction could have taken place, and it may or may not explain Whitebeard and Big Mom's stature as well. So, moving on from there, of course, everyone starts to meet up at the library, so we move on from that scene and stuff like that. Robin's just like, I want to stay here and chill with Saul, and for obvious reasons and stuff. And a couple of them, basically everyone who was there wants to stay. So they meet up at the library, but everyone who's at the library is like, we'll meet up with you at the feast later and stuff like that. And Saul even remarks, listen, Giants of Elbath, that shit ain't going to be over in like 3-4 hours. I don't know how you humans party. This shit's lasting like 3 days. This is like a 48-hour minimum event and I've been to those type of parties where, you know, you just basically you end up crashing at 4 in the morning. You wake up at some ungodly hour, you're hungover, and you just go out, and then you pick up drinking to cure the hangover, and then you just start all over again, right? So yeah, it's one of those type of events, and good on them and stuff, right? So everyone's chilling. It's like, yeah. Frankie remarks about the treasure tree. Adam, it's like, this is what the Sunny's made out of, so we're getting that connection and stuff like that. And Saul remarks that this is not the only Adam tree in the world, though it's the rarest and greatest wood and stuff. There are other trees, Adam trees, in the world. Makes a lot of sense how Frankie was able to get his hands on it seemingly so easily for enough money. But Saul does remarks that this tree, however, is the oldest. The age of this one, this is the Adam tree. Probably the birthplace of the Adam tree, and its seedlings and stuff have been spread, but they only take very rarely in other parts of the world, most likely, stuff like that, right? So now Gerd, who's not as bad as we know who, we don't talk about him, weirdo, the sun god, she drips them out in all Viking gear, you know, Brooke looking absolutely incredible, Frankie looking awesome, though I missed the cowboy hat. The Viking horns are fantastic, sort of idea, but I do, when the beard and everything, but I do miss I thought Frankie looked amazing in the cowboy hat. I thought it was a great look for him. Jinbei's strip is okay. It's okay. I kind of wish that I don't know what's missing from Jinbei's for me. There's something missing from Jinbei's look. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the shot. It'll probably grow on me because I love the Norse look of stuff. Robin's looks fantastic. The drip is real. The drip does look great. I like that Jinbei's sort of, you know, starting to do the dwarven beard braids and stuff like that. And like everything just looks good. Everything does look really cool. Maybe it's if Jinbei had a black fur coat instead of the white one. I don't know. It'll probably look way better in the anime colorized anyways. But yeah, maybe that's it. Or maybe he just needed a black shirt with the white fur coat. I don't know. Or better yet, I think that's what's missing. It doesn't need to be black, but what if he had like a brown, you know, white fur, like a white tough fur around the collar, and then the brown outer layer, like something like they killed, like a giant elk. And it's the white up top and the brown spotted down below. I think that's what's sort of missing, how it's all one colored fur. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what's missing. But once again, we'll have to wait for the colorizations and stuff like that. But yeah, I think all the drip looks fantastic. Gerd being a little overzealous about it, but we already knew that about her. And boom, then we jump back to the castle, which is confirmed to be, even though it's just Quest Castle near the Western Village, it apparently was the castle of King Harold. There are a couple of giant guards around, and they're just like, hey, what are you humans doing? Are you members of the Straw Hats, blah, blah, blah? And the, what we assume the female one, who looks definitely like an assassin, is just like, oh, we're looking for the one called Loki. And, you know, if you're not going to tell us, this is what happened when you're rude and prideful. I wasn't asking before. I'm ordering you to tell me. And we get this scene where they're just kind of like, no, we're just looking for Loki. And they're like, no. We, you know, how do you know about Loki? But no, he's a criminal. We're not, you know, this was King Harold's castle. That's why it's abandoned. You know, we get everything that we basically assumed. And so something happens. He does this, or she seemingly does something to the one that was talking and got him down on his hands and knees, just like in pain. It sort of reminded me of what Jane does in the Twilight series. You know, just like sort of looks at you in pain and then, you know, and just completely gets you down on your knees. It's like excruciating pain, you know, getting into your mind or something like that. Because we see this effect, the do, and it doesn't seem like the giants did anything to them. It's just they noticed that something took place, like they did something, or maybe it was, you know, it was like poison darts or something were fired at lightning speed. But I'm thinking it might be a devil fruit ability, similar to, as I said, Jane from Twilight. There's other examples of that, but pretty much that's the one that first popped in my head. Yeah, Twilight might be a bad series for a lot of things, but some of the powers were cool, I'm just saying. And yeah, so he's down on the ground, and there's the other guard's like, Bog, what's going on, Bog? And stuff like that, and he slams his fist, he's like, it hurts. And he's just in so much pain, and it's just like screaming out in pain. It's like, what the hell is going on? And stuff like that. And the Shanks doppelganger hasn't said a damn word. Shanks' twin brother hasn't said anything yet. So we move on to the final pages of the chapter. We get a beautiful spread of course, for Raise Your Cups for the Straw Hat Crew. Crew and stuff like that. Like, woo, cheers, yeah. And then we hear a crash. It's like, yeah, whoa. It's like, it just reminds me of, like, yeah, cheers, fuck yeah, boom, and somebody just punched somebody out and slammed into a table, or someone picked up a chair. Fuck yeah! Oh, it just sort of reminded me of Thor in the first Thor movie, like, drinking the coffee. That was delicious. Another slam, crash. Well, ask for another one. I just did. I'm sort of getting that idea here with the Vikings, It's like, yeah, Straw Hats, Emperors, woo, fuck yeah, boom, punch. That's what I'm gathering from this. And it seems awesome. Everyone seems to be happy. All the Straw Hats, we see Zorro there in the background, clearly trying to get a whole keg for himself and stuff. Nami's closing her ears because this would be loud if the giants were screaming, like, yeah, cheers, and stuff. So it is what it is there. Luffy and Usopp are having a grand old time. The homeland of the world's greatest warriors. Yeah, we love it here, blah, blah, blah. I hope that this goes on for a little bit longer before everything goes to shit with the Gods Knights. So Dorian, Broggy, Hiruden, everyone's just like chilling. Everyone's like, yeah. Luffy does recognize Stanson finally, like, hey, I remember you, Old Man Rayleigh and stuff, because he looks so different. He looks so much more badass now. They're like, yeah, Hiruden told me all about you guys, and when he said he was subservient to a human, I was like, who? He goes, oh, Straw Hat Luffy. He's like, oh, Straw Hat. Well, if we're gonna be, yes, I mean, if we're gonna follow a human's rule, or that is a worthy ass human right there. That's an honorable fucking human, and we get to see the punch to Charles and stuff, and it's just great. So everyone's just having a grand old time, and in walks Mountain Beard Jarl. Mountain Beard, the hero, 408 years old. He's got a sword sticking through his helmet. This is reminding me of Bruno Battlehammer from Forgotten Realms sort of idea. The sword's still right through the thing. He goes, my helmet saved me. Yeah, don't worry about this. My helmet saved me. Because Luffy's like, what the hell, old man? You're stabbed in the head. And he's like, no, you don't understand. My helmet saved me. But the sword's going right through it, bud. So we do meet Mountain Beard Jarl. He's chilling. He's like, where they don't have a king right now, I guess he'd be the one in charge. And he is far more massive than I think we assumed. Dory, or Broggy. Yeah, Broggy. Broggy looks small. And not small, but Mountain Beard Jarl is 2 to 3 times the size of Broggy. Okay? That's massive. This dude is so massive right now. I'm just like, that's insane. So the whole chapter is just a fun time. As I said, I want a little bit more of this slice of life to continue, if it were me, because I just want them to enjoy themselves, you know what I mean? The camaraderie between the giants and everybody like that. The last thing I need, and I don't think they're going to do this, they're immediately going to say, no, it's not a member of the Straw Hat crew. All the Straw Hats were here. They wouldn't have hurt us. We know all the members. All the members were right here. There's no reason for them to do this, And Dorian, Broggy, like, we don't have some hierarchy that we have to convince here. But I really hope that Oda doesn't do this whole, humans came here and they destroyed the castle and Loki and blah, 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 blah. And there's, like, the confusion. Like, Straw Hats, how could you do this? Betray us and stuff. And then they have to... I don't think that's going to happen. I hope Oda's not planning on doing that. It's too easy. It's too cliche. And it just wouldn't make sense with what Hiruden knows about Luffy. What Dorian Broggy know about Luffy. And what Stanson knows about him, and all the members, Gerd, and now Ripley and stuff. It just wouldn't make any sense. It would make no sense. Now, once again, I do like these Gods Knights showing up. I don't know what their plan is or how they got here. Does that summoning circle allow them to go anywhere in the world? Because by that logic, couldn't they just go to Laugh-Tale? No, I'm assuming that they have to mark the islands. You know, they have to sort of, like in an RPG game, it's like, oh, I have a sending stone or a teleportation stone or a, you know, magical ruin or whatever, but it only allows me to teleport to places that I have been before. You know, so you can't warp to the end of the game, right? That's once you get it, right? You can only places that you visited. So, at some point, probably, one of the Gorosei or Eam or somebody has visited the island of Elbaf and has marked the area or some description. I don't think they can use this, you know, indefinitely, because why didn't they just jump back to Egghead? I don't think that they can use this, like, all the time. They can just spam it sort of idea. I think it's definitely got its... There are probably it seems OP right now. I'm assuming there are very heavy restrictions and or limitations on this ability, and it's just necessary right now. Convenient that they're showing up right at this moment, when the Straw Hats just got here, of course. What's their purpose? Why are they here? They're talking about Loki, who's the one on the Den Mushi. After so many years of being locked up, why now? You know? Loki's been locked up for like 6 years. Why now? So, there's a lot to unpack there. But anyways, but what do you guys think? Once again, it could be a Rox member, it could be Wang Ji, it could be Silveraxe, it could be Shiki. I am convinced it's Scopper Gamon, and we're going to see Scopper here in Elbaf, which is just the right time to meet him. You know? I doubt he's on Laugh-Tale. A lot of people have made that thing that some former Roger members stayed on Laugh-Tale. They stayed there to guard it, to wait for Roger's successor. Possibly, I guess, but you think that would have been left to Rayleigh if that were the case? Or if Roger had wanted something like that? Maybe, but I really do think that this is just all adding up that it's Scopper. And it'd be really cool to see Scopper there and be like, alright, Luffy, show me what you got. Like, you've been trained by Rayleigh, right? Well, come have a spar with me and see how well Ray taught you, you know? And sort of idea. I think that would work out. I think, or with Zoro even. Scopper being like, hey, he trained with Rayleigh. How about you give me a go? If your goal is Mihawk, that little brat or something, like that would be cool too. Scopper be like, all right, because he dual wields axes, right? He'd be like, all right, 3 sword style, try me out for a change. You know, I might be old, but because from all we understand is unlike Rayleigh, we know that Garp kept up with this training and definitely was stronger than Rayleigh at this junction. I mean, he probably always was. But Rayleigh admits that he is out of shape, definitely out of his prime, and hasn't been training for years. He's been inactive. From what we understand, Scopper, if he's been living on Elbaf here, he could have been training with his wife, with, you know, the strongest warriors of Elbaf. This whole time, he might have been keeping up with his training, unlike Rayleigh. Scopper right now might be not in his prime anymore, but actually stronger than Rayleigh right now. For all we know, if he's been keeping up with his daily routines and his exercise, he might be in better shape right now than old man Rayleigh is. So, he might say, alright, let's see what you guys have learned now that you've come this far into the new world. If you think you're on the level of an emperor, huh? How about you test yourself against these axes, you know? Like, I think there's huge potential here for not just Luffy, but for Zoro especially. To say, oh, you know, because you could see Scopper being like, oh yeah, your goal is Mihawk. I remember that, brat. Well, why don't you try yourself against me first? I think I'm a pretty fair able to gauge how far you are, considering that the one who trained Shanks and was Rayleigh and I, you know, sort of idea, you know. It's like, I'll be able to gauge your strength pretty good, you know what I mean? And once again, if Shanks was on the island, Shanks seems to visit Elbaf as he pleases, he probably meets up with one of his old mentors being Scopper. I would like to think that not just Roger, but Rayleigh and Scopper probably were training the apprentices, you know. I'm sure Scopper was sparring with Shanks and stuff like that back in the day to help him hone his skills, just like any of the apprentices. I assume that's what they would do, so yeah, there's a lot here. I am just looking. I really hope Oda doesn't pull the rug out from underneath me here. I am praying that this is Scopper, and maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe everyone else has made a totally different connection or something like that. But I really do think that this is all leading to Scopper. And once again, I'll have to watch like Tekking, King, a lot of other people, and see what they're thinking about who is Colin's dad here, who's Ripley's husband. And I mean, there are potential other candidates, but I just think that Scopper just, chef's kiss, works out completely, and there's so much potential. You know, there's storyboard potential here, you know what I'm saying? There's plot potential here with that. So, anyways, very long review, but it is the last review of 2024 for One Piece. Yeah, so Happy New Year, everybody. You know, this is going to come out, a few days before New Year's, obviously, at the time of this recording, but I'm going to render this. I'm going to get this out as quick as I can, and I hope you guys, once again, had a really Merry Christmas, Happy Boxing Day, Christmas Eve. Hope you spent that really well, and I hope you have a really good plans for New Year's Eve, for New Year's Day, and stuff like that. New Year's Day is my birthday. I'm going from old to ancient. So, yeah, I'm getting a lot older here. So, yeah, to me, it's just another day, for obvious reasons. But, because 2024 was not my year. But, maybe 2025, I hope, is a little better. I hope, even if it's just a smidge better, that'll be light years of, But anyways, so I hope you guys have great plans for your New Year's Eve parties and your New Year's Eve days and stuff like that. However you choose to celebrate it, maybe you just want to chillax. Maybe you just want to put your feet up, have a nice dinner, and, just watch your favorite show or something. However you want to spend it, I just hope you get to spend it the way you want to. So, family, friends, drink, food, TV, and just chillaxing. Sleep in, however you want to do it, So, this is the last chapter of One Piece this year. I think we had a pretty good year of One Piece overall, though. I really do. I think we had a good year of One Piece, and I'm really happy that we're in Elbaf proper. And, I'm looking forward to next year. I think next year is going to be even better for One Piece. I think 2025 is definitely going to be hitting off a lot of banger chapters. I really do. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys thought of One Piece as a whole for this year, and this chapter, of course, and my theory that Colin's dad is Scopper Gaban. Down in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see all you beautiful people back here in the new year, 2025, for the next piece of One Piece. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys are too. See you next time. Sayonara.